2.5 years ago, I was involved in an accident. And that's when I knew that I had a drinking problem.
I was just really tired of being sick and tired and living that life.
It was either I get help or I committed suicide, and I didn't have what it took to commit suicide.
CHC was probably my third or fourth treatment episodes. I've been to every treatment in the Akron area.
I knew about CHC since I was a teenager. My mom was a nurse over at the 725 building. Growing up, I didn't think I would ever have to need the services.
They welcomed me in, I did an assessment. She was like, thanks for your honesty, because she asked me when was the last time I used. I was like, a couple hours ago. It was early in the morning.
I was just over it. I had done it for over decades, and I had to try something different. I went into CHC.
CHC was different to me because I felt like even when I fell that I could turn to them.
I reached out to a close friend, familiar with CHC and Raymar. Here I am today, sober 2 years, 5 months, and I think 16 days.
I have 14 months clean.
I'm proud of that I made 5 years in recovery. I have never had this much clean time in my life.
It really became a problem for me once I started having children.
I was facing homelessness. I actually found out I was pregnant before I came into treatment.
I was facing homelessness, obviously legal troubles, multiple CSB cases.
Before I had my son, I didn't realize that I was an addict.
Finding out that I was pregnant with my son was definitely a big motivator to get there.
My children, losing them was the rock bottom.
I'd drop him off over at my grandma's house and I'd say, can you just watch him? And sometimes I wouldn't come back for weeks.
One of the great things about CHC is the Touchstone program. Of course, I fell back into my addiction and I went to Touchstone to try to parent and get treatment at the same time.
When I entered into Touchstone, I got involved with the Moms group, which is a very great group.
My son was 5 months old. I was able to bring him there with me. I did not know how to be a mom. I just knew that I needed help.
I was not prepared at all. I just knew that I had to get there. And that was my main, objective, was to getting to treatment. After, 3 weeks or so after I started feeling better, I was looking at what I packed and I was like, what the heck? I'm gonna be here for 90 days.
Over the years, I'd done a lot of outpatient, inpatient. I'm showing my age. I've been through Edmund Shaw a couple times. Yeah, so they're no longer out there in Lakemore, but yeah, I've been through all the programs and nothing worked. I ended up at Raymar and I became willing to do whatever it took to stay sober.
I literally blamed everyone but myself. I thought maybe I wasn't that bad. Maybe I was at the wrong place, but I was definitely wrong. I needed everything I got. It was the afternoon I was released from a car accident. I looked at my ticket again. I blew a 2.45 at 10 a.m. in the morning. That, and I knew I'd hurt someone. That was really the time that I knew I needed help, and it was beyond my control.
I couldn't maintain my job. I would go to work and, my drug of choice, I could stay up for 4 or 5 days. Once I crashed out, I'm sleeping for 3 days straight.
Got real close with NASCAR and been around some professional people. I was right there. I remember being up at Budweiser Grand Prix, sitting in Jimmy Baster's car and hanging out with Chip Ganassi and Roger Penske. But it was all to nothing.
I couldn't function at work, and I prided myself on, that was the only thing I had in my life that I could manage, was my job. Everything else in my life was a train wreck. I had 2 teenagers. I wasn't seeing them on a regular. I pretty much wasn't seeing them at all. They didn't want to be around me. And I didn't want them to be around me in the situation I was in. And if it wasn't for my mother, I would have been on the street. I was basically homeless, living in somebody else's house, because I am a totally different person when I'm under the influence. I'm not a nice person, so thank God for moms.
I didn't recognize how it affected my work in the workplace, my relationships, pretty much all my surroundings. But I started to recognize them as they started to deepen into my darkness of of alcoholism.
So I ended up, thank God, at Raymar, CHC, and it's changed my life.
At CHC, I am on the MAT program. What made this experience different, I would have to say I have gotten older, unfortunately, and I'm just overliving that way.
Well, I used Raymar, so I went to in-house for 64 days. Then I elected to go to the sober housing, facing my criminal charges with my accident. I then went to IOP, which was 16 sessions. I think I ducked in a couple after just for goodwill. Then I went to aftercare.
My first service with CHC was going to Touchstone, so that was new to me. I had never been to inpatient, living with other females. So I was just, it was a little bit nerve-wracking. Yeah, so Karen Cole would take us to parenting classes, and at that point in my life, I didn't know how to be a mom. That meant so much to me to have my son there with me. Relapse is a part of my story. I have been to Touchstone more than once, so every time I came back, everybody just welcomed me with open arms.
I'm not going to say I felt like I was at home, but I was comfortable, you know what I mean? I had become willing to go to any length to stay sober. I had totally surrendered to my addiction. I was defeated, and that was a tough thing to admit. But until I did, nothing changed.
I had already lost a couple of my children, one to the system, and here I am trying to save, my third child. You want to feel like you can parent and that you can find recovery. And CHC, the first time I walked through that door, they made me feel like I had hope. Yes, I actually got all 4 of my children, the one I had in recovery, but especially my 8-year-old, people told me I would never get him back. Like, I lost permanent custody of him through CSB. It felt better than anything ever because not only did people say I would never get him back, but I believed that.
I have employment, and I have a beautiful, healthy baby boy that is in my custody and in my home. I have, positivity in my life and hope and faith, that it's gonna be okay.
I was very nervous when I first went there, but the staff was so welcoming. And I do want to talk about Jan Wagner. During breakfast and lunch, she would always just come out and talk to us girls, just to see how we're doing, how our progress was. She's the CEO, like, you're actually coming out here and talking to us.
Rana, she is involved with the moms group, and she does the moms group every week. Kristen, she's my peer supporter, my recovery coach. It's really good to have somebody that has been out there in the struggles. And then the main one is my counselor, Erin. She was there from the very beginning.
So I did the COVID test with a guy that worked there, and he was really the first person that I remember that I met that changed the way I felt about things. Mike Donahue was one of them people you meet, changed my life.
Rana Johnson with the moms program, she was just always willing to help me with anything I needed help with. Over at Women's Recovery, Victoria Kaplan, when I was gonna get my job at CHC, they're like, you can no longer be a client if you're gonna be an employee. And I was like, I battled that decision for weeks and weeks.
I would have to say there's a staff member there named Miss Lori. I was a little bit combative, I was just in denial. She told me point blank that Raymar and CHC, that they didn't have to tolerate that. That was when I regained respect for women.
The advice I have is don't think too much into it, just get there.
Be willing to change, because the change is definitely better.
Relapse happens and you're worth it, and there's help out there and nobody is judging you. Just reach out for help.
If you want to have a better way of living, you have to do what they suggest, and they suggest you change everything, and I changed everything, and my life's pretty good today.
I'm excited in my future to have my own home that I can call mine. I want to be at my house with a bonfire, dogs running around, and my whole family just together, you know.
Being in recovery, my children have seen the change in the way that I am towards them, and I am in their life, and I'm caring, and they struggle with some issues. So my daughter reached out to me about counseling, and I was able to inquire through Raymar about counseling for my child, which is pretty amazing.
I talk to my mom every day. We live 17 minutes apart, and I was probably hiding and secluding my alcoholism from her, but she has told me that she always knew when I was drunk, and she said it was every time. So now she comes to where I work, we go out and have lunch, we have a relationship, and that to me is priceless.
My family life is so much better. I actually bought a house 2 years ago. I'm getting married in October. I have custody of my son now. I'm a good mom. I work for ARC Recovery Services now. So I'm so proud of myself.
I'm a case manager at Women's Recovery. Definitely getting my children back, and of course working at CHC. Like some of my clients that come through I used with, and they just have so much faith that if this girl can do it, I know I can.
Relationship with my children, it's gotten a lot better. My kids, that's it.
Showing my mom that I can be sober.
CHC means to me grateful. I would just be, you know, I'm just thankful and grateful for them. They saved my life and got me on the right track more than just this time.
I want to thank this program to put me back on track to being who I should have been. I took it away, but you gave it back.
CHC's family to me. When I was a client, as an employee, they've always made me feel welcome and not judged, and I just love coming here every day.
Waking up, being sober, it's pretty amazing. Changed my life for the better.
Hope. CHC to me means hope. Hope for a future.